Hello everyone, it's Zahava. Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we are going to be doing a book confessions tag. This idea comes to me from Fina of Fina Reads. We're just going to be doing like a little casual discussion today as we're doing the tags because I'm waiting for some tomahawk steaks to be cooked. So Eric is outside barbecuing those tomahawk steaks as we speak, and that's going to take about 45 minutes. So I have some time to film a video, and I just didn't feel like doing a setup. So we are in the office again, but we're going to be talking books as usual. I have my wine, and I don't know if we can actually drink this on YouTube. I don't know. I've seen people do it. I guess like a wine tasting channel probably would be doing it on YouTube. But, you know, anyway, I'm going to be having some wine and we're going to be discussing the book confessions tag. And yeah, I just thought it would be really fun to try it out. So thank you to Fina for that idea and for tagging basically all of your viewers, especially those that have channels. Like I have a channel. So I'm going to just jump on the bandwagon and we're going to get right into it. So the first question is, I have a script, by the way, you guys, like I am prepared. So what is an unpopular book opinion or preference that you have? I don't really know if I have a good answer to that question, but if something comes to mind is that I tend to immediately reject books that are overhyped. And that can kind of be detrimental to my reading journey, if I'm honest with myself, because if books are talked about so much, or some of my favorite YouTubers who I either agree with their reading critiques or sometimes disagree and sort of hate watch their videos, because I kind of do that sometimes. Especially when they're like a really successful YouTuber. Yeah, sometimes I will disagree with the popular opinions about books. And if a book is overhyped or overspoken about or just, you know, over consumed, then I will not probably want to read that book ever, even if I'm doing myself a great disservice in the process. One book that comes to mind, which I will probably never pick up because at this point I'm absolutely terrified, is Blood Over Brighthaven. And the reason that I might not ever pick that book up is because so many people have been talking about it that I am terrified that I'm going to be disappointed if ever I do pick it up and it just doesn't work for me. Kind of like Babel, you know, for one reason or another. So that is basically my unpopular opinion on things. It's more of, I don't know if it answers the question exactly, but it's more like adjacent to it. One thing that's a preference that I have is to kind of steer away from overhyped books. Question number 2, has your reading taste changed over the years, and if so, how? So I would say absolutely yes. When I started to get into reading, and I think I've mentioned this before on the channel, I was about in the 9 to 12. First of all, I was always reading. I pretty much read as I came out of the womb. But realistically, the books that I would choose for myself when I was between 9 and 12 years old in like that age of adolescence, I would really go for the R.L. Stine, Christopher Pike. I was such a horror girly at that time. And they were pretty much the primary writers that you could find in that age group for that genre on the shelf. And even though sometimes there were other horror writers that made it to the shelves, I would just never pick them up because they didn't have a series of books going that I could collect. You know, it was just like one book here and one book there, and the cover art wasn't great, so I would never pick it up. Anyway, all of this is to say that in my adulthood, horror has kind of lost its luster for me, okay? And I know if I have horror fans in the audience, this is where I'm really going to need your help, because I am struggling with the horror genre right now. I used to love it. I used to love that like everything about those books had more or less of an explanation at the end. And I find that horror books lately, even one that I just finished reading by T. Kingfisher, and if you guys have been here for even like 10 seconds, you know that T. Kingfisher is my newest Hot Topic favorite author. I just finished reading The Twisted Ones, and even that one was not a 5-star read for me, even though she is a 5-star author for me. But I think it was because it was in the horror genre. And I find that when people write in that genre, sometimes the endings of the books can be like, or the ending of the books can be somewhat lazy. And I don't really like a genre anymore where I don't have a solid explanation as to why things are happening. So I've kind of moved from an area of horror over to an area of fantasy, and I kind of stick with fantasy. I don't mind mystery thriller. I'm trying to get more into it. As my life sort of progresses. So yeah, I started off chiefly horror and have since morphed into other genres. My chief preference being fantasy, but again, I'm starting to get more into mystery thriller, and you know, we'll see how we go. Romantasy is tough for me. It's really tough. T. Kingfisher does it really well. I really like Leigh Bardugo's The Familiar also in terms of romantasy, but again, these are all stories that had strong plot lines in their own right, so it's, you know, it's that kind of, I guess that my reading tastes have kind of matured in line with my life experiences. So I want to read about older protagonists. I want to read about people that are coming to their adventures with trauma, because, you know, we've all had trauma. I've had trauma. You guys have had trauma somewhere. We've all had traumas. So I sort of don't like a green hero scenario anymore. I don't know if that makes sense. Anyway, if it doesn't, I'll just edit all this out of the video. Basically, I'm trying to expand my genres, but it turns out I'm just really picky. Question number 3, what genre do you read to get out of a book slump? So for me, it's not a genre so much as it's like a complete opposite to what I've just read, or potentially a novella. I really like to go to novellas to get out of a book slump, and in the absence of a novella, just because it's, as I always say on this channel, it's a low-hanging fruit, in the absence of that, I will have a short story collection, potentially. So I always have short story collections on hand, because those you don't necessarily have to read in one sitting. You can read a story here or there, and every time you read one, you are feeling a little more accomplished. So either a short story collection or a novella, and that will sort of get me out of a reading slump, because sometimes what I want is just the psychological effect of a quick win. Now, I'm somebody that has a very pesky little habit of measuring my own self-worth by the amount of output that I bring to the planet. And it's not the healthiest mental state to be in, I will grant you that, but if I can finish a short story, or a shorter story, like a novella that's anywhere between, I don't know, 90 and 160 pages or something like that, I will feel a little more accomplished. I will get one more under my belt, and at that point, I'm ready to go into something that's a bit longer. Question number 4, what are some of your automatic buy authors? So for me, T. Kingfisher. For sure I'm going to buy, or at least ask for an ARC of, or an advanced listener's copy of, or get it from the library. But I will definitely always have T. Kingfisher on my radar. Robin Hobb, if ever something new comes out, I'm definitely going to be reading Robin Hobb. I've read all of her works, all of The Realm of the Elderlings. I've read her two... I've read a lot of her Megan Lindholm stuff from the way back times, and I've read also the Soldier Son trilogy, which is something that I hear nobody on YouTube talking about. So you know, Robin Hobb, if ever she decides that she wants to write something else, I will definitely, I've read The Inheritance, you know, I've read it all. So if she writes again, I will pick that up again, but essentially it's T. Kingfisher at the moment, Robin Hobb, and T.J. Newman, who is the one that writes the plane crash thrillers. So she wrote Falling and Drowning and Worst Case Scenario. And I read Worst Case Scenario. I haven't read Falling or Drowning yet, but I do own copies of both of those books. And when I read Worst Case Scenario, that was one of my absolute favorite reads this year, and we were going to talk about that, you know, in December or potentially January when we do the reading wrap-ups and everything for the year, but that was... So yeah, TJ Newman would make that list as well, because she's absolutely fantastic. I had a great time. I devoured her book. Question number 5, how many chances do you give an author before you won't try them again? One, usually. Unless somebody makes a very compelling argument as to how one book is drastically different than another book, I probably will not try the author again. Some authors that I can think of that I will not try again, if you want to know who they are, Samantha Shannon comes to mind. I read The Priory of the Orange Tree. I gave that one 2 stars. It was not a DNF. I actually did finish it, but I don't know. There were characters there that didn't make sense in the plot line. They didn't serve any purpose. I don't know what this Nicholas Rouse, the doctor, had, like, literally didn't do anything to support the plot line in that novel that I could see. I'm not really sure why that character was in the book. I'm not really sure what he brought to the plot line. I just felt that, like, her writing was very epic in scope, but very flat on the page, and I didn't get the character development and the movement that I was looking for. So I don't think I'll pick up any of the Bone Season anythings by her, because I was so disappointed with The Priory of the Orange Tree when everyone had talked about it and was hyping it up, and it had this gorgeous cover and was supposed to be like a fantastic book, and it just did not work for me. Another author that I probably won't pick up again, Terry Pratchett, actually. So I tried to read, can't remember which one of the books that it was that I tried to read by him, but it didn't work for me in the sense that there are no, it's not because Terry Pratchett is a bad author, not at all. Believe me, I got some great laughs, but about 90 pages in, the plot line just felt really flat for me. And as much as Discworld is a beloved series amongst many fantasy readers, and even readers that don't chiefly read fantasy, I just don't think that Terry Pratchett is an author for me, and that maybe could be the unpopular opinion for question number 1. In fact, I think we're going to officially make it that, because everyone and their dog loves Terry Pratchett, and I am not in love. Did I like what I read in the first 90 pages of the book that I read? Yes, I did, but not enough to finish the book and not enough to pick up any others. So how many chances do I give an author that has disappointed me? I give them the one. If you suggest to me that I should read a different book from that author because it's not at all the bad experience that I had, maybe I'll listen to you. But if it's up to me, I probably will not pick up the book again. So I am strict. I am strict. Question number 6. Do you have anything you like to do or listen to while you read? And it really depends. Like, very often it's more what I'm doing that the book will kind of accompany rather than the other way around. I don't do an activity while I'm reading. It's more like if I'm working or taking a walk, at that point I'll put an audiobook on. But if I'm reading, I generally like to just read. And that is in and of itself the activity. Question number 7, how far do you read before DNFing? I sort of DNF books by feeling. Like, if I'm not engaged, if I find myself bored, falling asleep, not interested in reading the next sentence or turning to the next page, it's pretty subjective because it has a lot to do with how the story is written. I will DNF a book when I'm not feeling it, or my pet peeve, when the writing is messy, when the writing is disorganized, when the writing seems unprofessional and like somebody just didn't think about the outline and the structure of their novel. The book that comes to mind that would support this DNF is Assistant to the Villain, which I just recently DNF'd, so maybe there's like, you know, it's top of mind because it was recent. I'm recording this video before I do the July reading wrap up, so you'll probably see it first, but Assistant to the Villain was not a happy time. It was not a happy time. So I found that book very messy. I didn't like the villain as, I don't know, like they could have given him a name, or maybe I just didn't stick with it long enough. I don't know. But as of page 34, I was like absolutely done. I was done with that book. And it's got 2 sequels, so, and it's making a lot of money, and people obviously really, really enjoy it. But for me, I was just not feeling the vibe. I think with Babel, for example, I made it about 260 pages in, and I was so bored. Like, it just wasn't going anywhere. The pacing was too slow. Maybe it was my mood at the time. So there's a lot of different factors that will come into play before I decide if I'm going to DNF a book. And yeah, I just think it's like, there's no set number of pages. It's really when I get that feeling that it's just not working for whatever reason, that's when I decide to close it. Okay, so question number 8 is really funny. In Fina's video, which I will link to down in the description below if you guys want to go check it out, she made me laugh so much. So let me tell you why. Question number 8 is, do you ever find yourself, I have to read it, okay? It says, do you ever find yourself making the same faces as the characters in the book? And it's kind of a funny question. So Fina was like, oh my God, do people actually do that? And I guess people must, or else it wouldn't be a question that is on this book tag. But I don't know, it was just really funny. So you guys should go check out her video to see her reaction to that question. But my reaction is, do I make the same faces as the characters in the book? I don't recall that I make the same faces as the characters in the books, because that would imply that the author is paying special attention to the facial expressions that people are giving. What I do what I do is possibly a lot more cringy, if you can imagine. I will sometimes read their dialogue out loud, like whatever's in the quotation marks, whatever the characters are saying. If the character delivers a line with some sort of attitude, I will be like acting that shit out by myself. I will be acting it out in my house by myself. And yeah, I mean, in front of my cats. I guess it's if the writing is very engaging, and if I'm really relating to the character a lot, and the character moves or does something in a certain way, and I'm like, oh, you know, snap, or whatever, whatever the character might say. I don't know. I'm just being silly now because we're having wine. Why not? Wine not. Please don't unsubscribe. So yeah, I do sometimes read the lines out loud to myself in like an acting voice, and I'm not a little embarrassed by that. Make of it what you will. Let me know if you guys do the same thing, because I can't be the only one. Question number 9, rereading. Yes, no? Do you reread? I think for me it depends. It depends on what the book is or how long it's been since I read it the first time. I can tell you that Live Ship, you guys know I've been through that series 4 or 5 times. So that is definitely my biggest reread. Are there other books that I would consider rereading in the future? Probably. One example would be The Twisted Ones by T. Kingfisher, because again, I had a little bit of difficulty with that one. I listened to it on audio and I'm not sure that I was completely paying attention to it. So that's something that I may decide I would like to reread or re-listen to in the future. Another one that I do want to reread, I had borrowed it from the library and I didn't own a copy, but then I saw it at book outlets and I just wanted a copy for my wall. So I did pick up a copy of Chain Gang All-Stars, and that is a book that I could see myself rereading because I had such a time in that book, and y'all should read it if you haven't yet. It's fantastic. And then the last book confessions tag is to tag other booktubers. I am going to leave tags in the description below of I don't know, 2 or 3 or maybe 4 booktubers that I follow so that you guys can go and check them out. These will be channels that I adore, that I religiously watch their videos. I can't think of who they are now because I kind of feel like I'm a little bit on the spot, but I will tag them. I think I'm going to tag Chess's Book Nook, who is a booktuber that I have recently discovered. She has an itty bitty baby channel. At the time that I'm recording, she has 430 subscribers, and I can just see her channel blowing up. Chess, if you're asking if I'm jealous, I'm 100% jealous, just so you're aware. I think I will also check Penny, the paperback cat. Not sure if that's her name, but I'm going to tag her too. And I'll find a couple of others who I think would have a really good time with this tag. I do like to tag baby channels because it's more fun to get to know smaller YouTubers, and that's where you guys can be really, really valuable. If you click on those links and go to those channels, or even watch some more of my videos when you guys are done here, it really, really helps the small channels to get discovered and for us to have, you know, a bigger chance of success on this platform. So thank you so much if you've come to hang out with me today. You know, if you have stayed until the end of the video, I haven't said this to you in a while, but you are absolutely my favorite person. And I will see you again in the next video, which should be the July reading wrap up, if I'm right on my schedule. And then we're going to talk about some other projects and things that I have coming up. So thank you again. I love you so much. I hope you had fun with this video. And if you want to see more content like this, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you again in the next video. Ciao for now.